This video is introducing fourth position for those who are either trying it for the first time or those of you who want to really lock it in better and feel more secure with intonation, or if you're visiting it for the first time in a long time. So there are two sources that I recommend if you want to practice positions. One of them is Harvey Whistler's Introducing the Positions books, which I've talked about in some of my past videos. The other book I want to recommend to you is the 6th volume from Leopold Auer's violin playing series. It goes through positions 4 through 7 in this book, among some other things like trills and other stuff. But the reason I recommend this is because it actually helps the intonation feel a little bit more secure, in my opinion, compared to the Harvey Whistler book, which of course takes you through different etudes in various keys. But I do like to combine the two ideas together. Now, fourth position. There are 2 points of reference that are very, very useful here. Okay, probably already familiar with the middle harmonic. Right here in the middle. But there are other natural harmonics on the instrument, and one of them just so happens to fall on the first finger. So on the A string, this is the E, of course, but underneath it's 1 octave higher. So if you want to double check that you are in tune, the first and fourth fingers within the frame of a perfect fourth both fall on natural harmonics in fourth position. Now, this is just a little bit starting point, but unfortunately, if you just rely on the natural harmonics by sound, it does prevent the fingers to go into their correct shape. So after you've done that, right, you do need to check that the pinky lands properly from above. Now, depending on your hand, fourth position can be a little bit weird because it's kind of in the in-between zone between the higher positions and the lower positions. You can think of positions in one of 2 ways. You can think positions 1, 2, 3, and 4 as the low positions, and then 5 and higher as the high positions. Some folks categorize them for themselves 4th, 5th, and 6th, maybe 6th position is kind of like the middle positions, and then 7th and up are like the high positions because they get much higher on the fingerboard. But the reason 4th position is a little strange, it kind of depends on the individual hand a little bit more than the other positions, and that is because notice that in 5th position, which I've talked about in my previous video on 5th position, once the thumb gets to this point, and this is generally for position 5 and up, the base of the first finger leaves the neck, the contact with the neck over here, okay? For positions 1, 2, and 3, of course, we keep that contact here. Now for 4th position, it can kind of go both ways, which is, I find it very interesting. At least for me, I find it when I'm in 4th position, sometimes I have that contact with the neck here, and sometimes I do not. It depends on the music. So for example, if I'm on the G string, the contact with the neck is no longer applicable to me. Also, you might notice that the thumb position can be a little ambiguous in this one as well. I do tend to kind of put it together in the same category as 3rd position because generally the thumb will still be over here. But if we are playing repertoire that encompasses the full fingerboard, this is where, usually around the 4th position, this is where the thumb starts to travel its way over here. Okay, so this is where it kind of becomes a little bit more individual. My thumb does tend to be more under the instrument, just kind of generally speaking. Of course, there are always exceptions, depending on the key you're in, what the repertoire demands, what string you're on, what the intervals are, what the next shift is going to be. A lot of it really, really determines a lot of things. But as a starting point, you want to find a thumb position that is comfortable, that's not going to squeeze too much. If yours is like mine and it's more underneath, just be careful that it doesn't start squeezing upwards, because that's very, very common thing for it to do. Either the fingers start pressing too hard, making the thumb squeeze harder, or vice versa. So now going back to intonation, I think that's what you all came here to see, right? So you can do this one of two ways. So if you go to Harvey Whistler's book, right, and you go to the fourth position studies, it just kind of introduces you how it feels across all the strings without any sharps or flats. So you can totally do that, and actually I have a lot of my students do that. Starting with the note D. The pinky would be on the G harmonic, but I would put it in its proper shape. Then on the D string. Keeping with the naturals. Half natural would be a half step with the first finger here on the A string. B natural, C natural. So this is just kind of a starting point, of course. It depends what key you're going to be in. Now in this book, it's kind of really accessible because you kind of stay in the key of C major for quite a while just to kind of get your footing. What I would like for you to try next, instead of spending too much time on those first 2 pages in the Whistler book, is to go right ahead and do some interval training right away. So you can do this either with a partner or with a drone. You can have a drone playing the note E for you if you're on the A string. Or you could even go back and forth to and from the note E, which is the first finger. We're going to leave the first finger down, and we're going to go up and down the string, going interval by interval. So following the exercise in the Leopold Auer's book, it goes to the major second, then the minor third in this one, major third, and finally the perfect fourth. Okay, and then from here it goes backwards. Perfect fourth, major third, and from minor third it goes down chromatically like this. So this is just one of the ways you can do it. Of course, you can create your own version of this, so you can go up and down chromatically with the intervals, with a minor second, major second, minor third. So this is your default frame. Sometimes in music we have to do extensions, so you can go up to the tritone, and sometimes we also want to go to the fifth if you want to practice the extension, which would be the same note as this B here. Now, of course, in fourth position, extending upward with the pinky is easier, especially if you have removed that bass with the first finger. It becomes more accessible. Now, in my other videos on extensions, of course, best practice is to reach downward. And of course, you can do these exercises on all the other strings. Then the next step would be to do some double stops. Okay, I did the D and A string for the fifth position video, so for this one we'll do G string and D string. So we'll do this octave, okay? So the next thing we can do with this octave is to fill it in on the lower string. Like that. And then the next thing is to practice perfect fourths. So let's take the note A on the D string and then place the second finger on the E. And then you can do the same thing with 2 and 3. If it's a little off, just lift the third finger and correct it. let's do this one. Of course, you can practice other intervals. The third is a great one, because thirds are very common in repertoire. So just doing that a little bit kind of gets your left hand a little bit more secure. And then after that, once you kind of do this a little bit, you can go ahead and try some of these little etudes in either of these books. Take your time, really go slow, and I would pay most attention to what key you're in and also the interval. Now, if you would like to see how a lot of this is applied in repertoire practice and in real life, I do a lot of more in-depth work on my Patreon community page. I will put the link down in the description below so you can go check it out and do some exploration on your own. If this video was helpful for you, please give it a quick thumbs up, and the best thing you can do is share this video with a friend or a colleague who will find it helpful so that YouTube continues to share my videos with the correct folks. Let me know your biggest takeaway down in the comment section below. Until next time, happy practicing.